Hey, welcome to Make Thrift Buy, the show where you send in clothes that you've seen online, clothes that are either expensive, mass-produced, or the brand just doesn't make efforts to pay their workers a living wage, and then I do my best to recreate them. So today I'm doing an item that's been suggested by, about 1 billion of you. Coming in at a cool $95 are these pair of mom jeans from Topshop that feature little windows for your knees. Assumedly the windows are there so that your knees can gaze out upon the world, no longer constricted by cruel, opaque fabrics. Hashtag free the knee. Anyway, the internet has been divided by these jeans, and my social media has also been flooded with requests asking me to try and recreate them. So I'm basically just doing them so that I can go back on my Twitter account without having to scroll through pages and pages of these damn jeans. So let's get started. So I took myself to the thrift store. I went to a warehouse-sized one that I know has a lot of pairs of jeans, and the quest for a suitable pair of mom jeans commenced. After trying on like 30 different pairs of jeans, I finally found my perfect pair of mom jeans. They fit snugly on the waist, but they are nice and loose on the legs. The main thing you want to look for in any pair of jeans that you're using for this project is that they should have lots of loose fabric around the knee. This project really won't work with tight-fitting jeans. So while wearing the jeans, I grabbed some chalk and I roughly measured out where I wanted the top and the bottom of the cutouts to be. As you can see, I'm bending my leg a lot in this process. That's because I wanted to make sure my knees would be around the middle of the cutout. If you measure only while your legs are straight, you'll probably make the cutouts a little bit too high. These jeans also had a really cute pocket on the side down here, but unfortunately it's in the way of the cutouts, so I had to remove the top part of the pocket just to make life easier. Then I laid the jeans out flat on my table and I made the chalk lines thicker, and I also made sure that they were even on both legs and the same height as each other by using a ruler. I then made small chalk marks exactly in the center of the pant legs by measuring the width of the pant leg and then dividing this by 2. And then I drew on rectangles that were 4.5 by 7 inches. Of course, the length of your rectangles might differ slightly depending on where you drew your first chalk marks, but this is a good ballpark measurement of the size that your cutout should be. Then, using a pair of fabric scissors, I chopped out the fabric inside the rectangles. Then at the corner of each rectangle, I made small slits like this at 45 degrees, each about 1/2 inch long. Then I turned my jeans inside out. Make sure you turn them inside out before this next step. And I folded the edges of the cutouts back like this. Now we're going to sew these pieces down using some thread in a matching color to the jeans. Now you can hand stitch this, but if you're doing this on a sewing machine, you'll need to do some clever folding so that you don't sew through the back of the jeans as well. So I manipulated my jeans like this to make sure that I'd only be sewing through the front fabric of the jeans, and then I sewed down this edge using a straight stitch and a normal sewing needle. And I repeated this for all of the raw edges around the cutouts. And don't goof up and sew one of these flaps on the wrong way like I did here. I accidentally sewed this flap to the right side of the jeans, and I didn't notice that I'd done this until after I'd sewn on the plastic. And I spent a lot of time unpicking my stitches. Don't do this! Anyway, next I grabbed my plastic material. This is flexible PVC plastic that I had remaining from this plastic skirt that you guys got me to make back in episode 33. I think it was originally meant to be a table protector, and I laid it on top of one of my cutouts, and then I drew a rectangle shape directly onto the plastic, making the rectangle slightly larger than the cutout. And damn, I accidentally drew onto my fabric here. Luckily the jeans are still inside out, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I finished drawing on that rectangle and then I cut it out. Now, actually sewing the plastic onto the inside of the cutouts is a little bit tricky and took me a while to work out, because there's a lot of fabric that you don't want to sew through in the way. If you just put this straight on your sewing machine now, you will have a lot of difficulty. So what I'm going to do next is to open up one of the side seams on this pant leg, just from here to here, because this will give me easy access to the cutout and make it about 100 times easier to sew the plastic on. When I'd done that, I made sure that the plastic was in place over the cutout, and then I pinned it on around the edges, making sure that I'd only pinned it to the front layer of the jeans, not the back, and then I sewed the plastic on using a straight stitch like this. Now, sewing with PVC plastic is a little bit difficult. It kept getting a little bit stuck on my sewing machine's feeding mechanism, but I didn't need to use any special sewing tools or sewing feet. I simply helped feed the fabrics through by pulling on it a little bit using my hands as I sewed. Now, once the plastic was sewn on around all 4 edges of the cutout, I sewed the side seams of the jeans back up. And then I cut off the excess edges around the plastic, leaving about 1/2 inch next to the stitches that I just made. Finally, I wanted to cover up the edges of the plastic so they wouldn't dig into my legs. So using those denim scraps that I cut out from the knees of the jeans earlier, I cut these into strips, brushed some fabric glue onto the edges of the plastic, and then I placed the strip of fabric down over the plastic edge, covering it entirely. And I did this at both the top and the bottom of the cutouts. I didn't worry about the sides because they weren't ever going to touch my legs, but you could do this if you wanted to. Finally, remember that cute leg pocket that I cut off before? I sewed the top of the pocket back in place, which would have been a lot easier if I'd done this before I sewed the side seams back up, but I still managed to sew it on using a needle and some thread, and then I was done. So, how did it turn out? How did I go? Look, I did try really hard to film this seriously for you guys, but boop, 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 boop. It's so hard to be serious filming these. I mean, knees are really weird and they're just so there. Like, what are they doing there? What are knees? Yeah, I think this episode has broken me a little bit. It definitely initiated an existential crisis about the meaning of knees. Seriously, I've looked at my knees so much now, both filming and editing this video, that I don't really feel like they're a normal body part anymore. Alright, so it worked, and I have to admit, I actually quite like them. Sure, there's some definite cons. The main one being that they're really not comfortable. Whenever I bend my knees, like every second while I'm walking, my knees bump up against and stick to the rigid plastic. I am literally sitting like this right now because I don't want the plastic to touch my knees. Also, on a hot day, your sweaty knees will produce a lot of condensation. That'll be very visible and show up on these windows. I just thought of another one if you're someone who occasionally shaves their legs like I do. You can't just forgo shaving in the winter if you're gonna wear these. Oh, I just thought of another one. If you're pale like I am, you're gonna have to put sunscreen on your knees before you go out because this isn't UV protective unless you want rectangle burn lines on your legs. Man, so many of the clothes I make on Make Thrift Buy give you weird tan lines. But there are some pros as well. Like, you can put stickers on them and change the stickers up. You can also grab a whiteboard marker and write down things that you have to remember. Your knees won't get wet in the rain. They're certainly a conversation starter. As if someone isn't gonna mention these weird ass jeans. Also fashion. I guess that's a pro for some people. Anyway, in conclusion, these jeans are a thrift a pair of jeans and make these for yourself. Mine came in at about $5 total if you include the plastic material and the thread I used. So I hope this video either helps or amuses you, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye! Hey YouTube family, this is a call to action to sign up and donate to my Patreon page. If you have ever used one of my sewing tutorials and you've made something awesome, consider all the money you've saved on taking sewing lessons and on clothing, and consider throwing a couple of dollars my way. Currently, only 0.03% of my YouTube subscribers donate to my Patreon page. If just 0.1% of you pledged $1 per month, it'd really help me out. I spend like 20 to 30 hours on each of these videos, so it's something I put a lot of time and effort into. So consider signing up. It's YouTube communities coming together and supporting their favorite content creators that keeps us going. If you can't commit to $1 a month, that's okay. You can also support me by making a one-off purchase on my merchandise page. Or if you absolutely can't spare $1 a month, then at the very least, force all your friends to watch my videos as well. All right, thanks again. I'm going now. Bye!